Hey, John.
Eric,
How's everybody doing?
good. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Good.
Should be working.
Perfect.
Looks like it's connecting Bob's audio now.
I see Bob. Yep.
Oh. Karen, Jim Fletcher, I sent you a message to Jim Fletcher about the one on Sandy Beach,
Yes.
whatever. He said that I guess the water's off there, so it was probably just blown in from the lake, is what he said.
That didn't make sense. I think it was a sump pump.
Oh, maybe. Um, that could be possible. But he said that the water, anyways, from the town was shut off.
Okay, good. Good. Yeah, and it looked like clean water going into the lake, so I wasn't real worried about, that.
That's good.
So, yeah.
Which computer will it show on?
Welcome, Chuck.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Karen.
Hello.
So I think everybody from the town is here. Gather's not joining us.
We got Lance.
Lance is here.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Yes. Good evening. Hey,
Hello.
You got the flag, the colors to fly, Eric?
It's my favorite part.
Those of you wearing sweatpants, don't stand up. Just sit and say the pledge.
How about
Actually-
pajamas?
I actually got dressed up today.
Why? For what
Why?
reason?
You guys. Wow, what a choice.
Right?
Why does mine say how the American flag became a threat?
yeah, that's what I'm
Sorry.
looking at too.
I'm like, did you choose this for a reason? Or?
That's the headline from Time Magazine, apparently.
Okay.
I like the wavy ones.
Oh, that one, yeah, the wavy one's good.
Where is it?
The one in the upper left there.
Upper left.
Yeah,
That
store
one?
and the one
Purple.
retire.
Yeah, I like that one. Nice and wavy.
Blue skies.
There you go.
All right. It's a great flag.
Okay, do you pick one and it takes over the screen, Eric?
Sometimes I can't make them full screen depending on how they're.
Okay, well, I guess better having 8 flags than no flag.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh. Ryan, are you out there in TV land?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. Okay, just checking in
Oh,
on
we
you.
can see you.
I'll do a roll call in a sec.
Okay, I'll bring it over.
Okay, excellent, excellent. All right, everyone, would you please put your hand in your heart and let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. Whoops, when we get the flag back. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Like,
of the United States of America and to the
and to the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation,
one nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. All right, welcome everyone to the April 14th meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. Let me do a roll call, see who's online with us. Karen Blasey,
Here.
right? Ryan Stachuk,
I am here.
Gary Humes,
Here.
Bob LaCourse,
I'm here.
Amanda Van Laken.
Present.
Thank you. Okay, we are also joined by John Robatella, our Recording secretary, and Lance Brabant, representing MRB, our consulting engineers, along with Eric Cooper, who is the master of controls, who is our director of development.
I know.
Let me, for the purposes of the good of John, who else is out there? I know Anthony was on.
I'm here.
Looks like,
I'm here, Chuck.
Okay.
looks like we're also joined by Glenn Harvey.
Yes, this is Glenn from Bergman Associates.
Okay.
Okay.
We have Mark Henderson there.
Laurie Henderson, Thomas Road.
Cindy and Tony Cassiano.
Correct.
And then there's a couple names that I don't know who they are. There's Audrey D. And then, let's see, somebody, Ginger and Daniel Lester.
Eric, Dan is the Silvernail owner.
Oh, great. Yep.
Okay, welcome everyone. Again, this is the second virtual meeting we've done, and seemed to go well the last time, and hopefully it'll go just as well tonight. All right, as far as the notice of public hearings, there is one public hearing that we are starting and one that we're continuing. Is the one we're starting is for Skylight Signs, representing Auto Wash 3 LLC, owner of property at 3150 County Route 10. And they're requesting an amended site plan approval and a special use permit to install 2 auto car wash signs and 1 ground sign. Those two, the 2 signs are on the building and 1 is a ground sign. And the one that we're continuing, which we'll go into right now, so I'm opening a continued hearing for BME Gerber, representing Anthony Cassiano, owner of property at 5157 Overlook. And this is the applicant proposes to amend the final subdivision grading plan for Old Brookside Section 6 because as-built drawings and gradings were constructed too high. All right, we talked about this, I guess, 2 meetings ago. And it was, I guess, agreed that BME and MRB would get together and look at the gradient out there, do an as-built grading plan to determine if and where the problems were as far as the drainage issues. Lance or the fellow from BME, if you want to give us an update where you are, we'd appreciate it.
Sure. This is Lance with MRB Group. Based on our last meeting, I had reached out to BME. It was my understanding that Gerber Homes was going to reach out to the neighbor of concern and try to work out a scenario where they could come up with a plan and submit it to the town for review.
Or this is this one.
Yep.
Okay, do we have a response from BME?
1, 2,
No, to date, we haven't received anything, to my knowledge.
Okay.
who's the last person on the thing?
So, given the conditions the way they are with what's happening in the world, I guess it's sort of precluded some of the folks getting together. But in any event, I guess at this point we'll have to continue this. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably. But Ginger, or excuse me, not Ginger, but Cindy and Tony, do you guys want to add anything for the time being?
No, I think we haven't seen anybody coming out to do anything yet. So I think we're just waiting for things to move forward like everybody else.
Okay.
Okay, to prevent this thing from dragging on too much longer, Lance, would you reach out to BME and see if they're available to meet at some point?
Yes, obviously, I will reach back out to them tomorrow to kind of get a follow-up. And if possible, I can submit something to the town electronically for the records to let us know what the game plan is. But it was my understanding that Gerber was going to go out to the site and meet with the homeowner in question and then come up with a topo plan for us to review. I don't know if due to the circumstances that's what's the delay in it, is that they can't physically get on site for whatever reason. I don't know that to be true. But I will follow up with BME to see if I can come up with at least a response to this.
We've been here. We're quarantined.
Well, you can keep looking out your back window.
Yeah.
See if anything's happening. All right, well, again, we don't want to see this thing prolong too much longer, and we'd like to get something resolved on it. So hopefully between now and I guess we're proposing an extension or continuation until May 12th.
So moved.
I have a motion from Ryan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Karen to extend or continue this deliberation until May 12th, our May 12th meeting. And if I hear nothing further from anyone, I will ask for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. So John, we will continue the hearing until May 12th. All right, moving right along to the new hearing for this evening. That having to do with skylight signs for the car wash out at County Route 10 and 5 and 20. Who is representing skylight signs?
Anybody here? I told him about it. I think his name was Jeremy Miller. Does Jeremy happen to be on the line?
How about
No, I think Bobby Marchini's here.
yeah,
Going up.
All right. I guess.
Eric, do you need Bobby to get in on this call? I can call him real quick. I know him.
Yeah, if you could.
Let me see if I can get a hold of him, and then you guys can come back to this one. If I can get him to come on there and just kind of give him a background. He probably just didn't know what's going on.
Bug in here.
Yeah, I don't see why that would be an issue. It's relatively simple.
All right, let me. I'll give him a shout.
Hey, did you drink all yours? You do that. I do that too.
Trying to get it up in the.
Yeah.
Whoever is noted on here is Ginger. I have to mute you. I will unmute you later on.
Hi.
Yep. Hold on one sec.
Ginger, you're stealing the show.
Okay. So we'll skip this one for now, and if Bobby joins us, then or Jeremy, we will come back to it.
Okay. All right, we'll just keep that open, the hearing, and wait till we get a response from Skylight or from the owner of the property. Moving on to CPN 2013. This is Bergman PC representing Acutis Technologies, owner of property at 5450 Campus Drive. They are requesting a single stage site plan approval for a 3,200 square foot addition to an existing building with related site improvements. Is someone is here from Bergman, if I recall.
Yes, this is Glenn. Is Ray on? Ray Darling?
Yep, I'm here. I'm hiding as Audrey D. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Ray, if you want to take it, then.
Yeah, I can answer all the site questions. That's fine.
Sure.
Okay, folks.
Just if you're able to see what I'm putting up on the screen, if there's a particular sheet that you want me to show, let me know. Otherwise, the show is yours to kind of explain to us what's going on.
All right, I'm going to let Kevin talk about the actual addition itself, and then I can answer any site-related questions you may have. But Kevin can talk more about what the addition that they're doing at Acutis.
Excuse me, could you please say your name before you speak, please? First and last name. I appreciate it.
Sure thing. This was Ray Darling from Bergman. I'm going to hand it over to Kevin Curran to talk about the addition.
Is Kevin on here? What's going on? Is he muted?
Yeah, it looks like he's muted.
This is where we need a wake-up feature.
Maybe
he
is Kevin.
All right.
Okay, Kevin, you got the floor.
I can't.
Okay. You just had him. There he is. He's a. Whoop.
Yeah, now he's unmuted. Kevin, you there?
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just dropped connection for a minute. So if you just repeat the question, I can help answer it.
Well, we were looking for a presentation on what's proposed out there.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a proposed addition onto the corner of the existing Acoustis building. This is going to, they're planning on doing an expansion project internally. And this is going to house a utility plant. This is being built right onto the existing utility plant. And so their existing utility plant's full. So this is going to be eventually housing a chiller, air compressors and what have you, just to support the process inside the facility. It's just a utility building.
Okay. It's got a ramp up to it and an at-grade driveway, asphalt pavement next to it. I guess there's an overhead door there. We see that. Are you losing any parking spaces at all as a result of this? Not that I think parking's an issue, but just to clarify if any parking's being given up.
Yes, hi, it's Ray Darling again. Yes, we are losing about 4 spaces, as you can see with the hatching that'll be used for the loading area to the 2 overhead doors. If you look on the demo plan, you can see the existing spaces that are going to be removed, but just restriped into a hatching.
Yeah, Eric, do you want to down to the zoning box? How are they on parking? I imagine they're well in excess of the required.
Yeah, I think they have plenty. I'm guessing when they originally built it, they were planning on having much more built up. But I'm not sure. There we go.
Yeah, I remember seeing somewhere that they were well over capacity right now in terms of.
If on the screen right now, I'm showing 102 spaces are required. They have 317 currently.
Yep. Okay. I remember we had that covered when we looked at some of the parts of this building, so I guess we're in pretty good shape. Bob, you had a question. I know.
Yeah, I think I thought it was answered, but I wasn't sure. But my question was about exterior lighting. It wasn't mentioned if you're going to add any exterior lighting, and if we were, was it going to be compliant with town code?
So I'll take a stab at that, and I will have to ask my electrical engineer, but I'm sure it'll be complying with town code. There is some exterior, because there's exits from this building right now that just goes to the outside. So there's lighting that's over the doors. So we're only going to have lighting over the loading dock and over the exit doors, similar to what's there today.
And I believe that was on Lance's letter as far as the lighting and being dark sky compliant.
Right, I believe it was.
So when we get into the conditions, it'll be covered there too.
Yep, they will be showing on when we apply for our building permit, they are going to be all on those drawings. They'll be shown there.
This is Gary Hume. So I just got a clarification and question to make sure I understand. The first gentleman there said it was kind of going to be just a services facility, chillers and equipment and things like that.
Correct.
But then you've got the loading dock and the door, which traditionally to me means deliveries, receiving, in and out, customers or trucks in and out with stuff. Maybe employees going in there, gathering, receiving goods or delivering stuff. Is it a combination of both, or is it? I'm a little bit confused on the use of the overhead doors in terms of what that space is going to be used for.
So the main overhead door is really only going to be used for bringing equipment into this building, because this building will be built before the equipment comes, the new chiller and whatever else they want to put in there. So so that's really going to be used for major maintenance of pieces of equipment. The loading dock was something that was added after the fact when we started it, and it's really just kind of out of convenience, just to occasionally have a place to come and unload stuff to just help support the existing utility plant as well as what's going to be happening in here. There won't be enough room in there for any major deliveries or anything. And the building is going to be very secured, so it's not going to have employees going in and out of that space or anything of that matter. There's emergency exits, of course, and other doors will all be alarmed. It's just, they thought it would be just kind of a convenience thing to have, because they don't have a lot of loading dock space in that building anyway, and it's really not meant to be a loading dock area, but just be able to back a truck up if they got to bring, say, tools in or take tools out. This is just another way to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there a man door to the access to the rest of the building? Inside, interior door?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And we also, there is an exterior door right now that is leading out from the existing utility building. So as we build this building, I could say when we turn in, which we have complete our drawing, we've had to put a new man door in, and it'll be a rated exit from the existing chiller to the outside. It'll be on the north side of the building. That other door that is sitting, over in that area as well will also be relocated. And there is a man door coming out of the new addition itself, to the right of the overhead door.
Okay, so you have ingress and egress for fire purposes, and
Yes.
sure that's something that the code enforcement officer will look at as part of the plan review.
Correct.
Lance, in your review, you talked about colored renderings of the proposed building addition materials and architectural elevation should be provided for review and approved by the planning board. Gentlemen, have you is this basically a masonry addition, or is it a?
No, it's gonna be the exact same panels that are there today, and they're just an insulated metal panel, and that's what's on that front side of the building, and we're just gonna be continuing that exact same material on the east side, and then following back on the north side of the building. So it's gonna look exactly what's there today. And it really isn't that noticeable from 332 with just everything that's kind of in the way, and it's just going to blend in with exactly what's there today. So I was going to question when I saw that if we can produce a rendering if you want. We did do this 3D model in Revit. We can throw that kind of off-white panel on to show you, but it's going to look exactly like the existing building.
Does the board need to see a rendering?
Not necessarily for me.
Okay, I agree. I think we can forego any elevation views of it. Anybody else have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Lance, with a seeker, it's a type 2, right? Or is that unlisted?
No, it's a type 2 because it's under 4,000 square feet.
Okay, yet there's a short form and a parts 1, 2, and 3 that was sent out with it, I believe.
No, I don't believe I sent one out for this.
Okay.
I believe the only seeker forms that were forwarded out to you guys should have been as part of the, it should have been as part of the car wash for the sign. I'll double check. But this is a type 2 action. It doesn't require seeking.
Could have had my plans mixed. Okay. So we got no comments from the county planning board. Do you scroll through that, Eric? No, okay, you're in a single stage. Okay. No comments from the planning board, right, Eric?
Eric, are you muted?
Yeah, sorry.
It's trying to double task.
We don't have any from them, though.
Okay, just want to make sure. Any other review agencies looking at the FTP site?
There was the fire department who had no concerns, and then the county DPW or sewer that had a couple comments.
Okay.
Eric?
This is Brian Stachuk asking a question.
Yeah.
Can you just number one, I think that this is a great project and it signals that something positive is happening in Acoustis. Is there any way that this fits into the Uptown Plan?
I guess the Uptown Plan is a bit larger to where like smaller additions like that aren't really touched on, but as long as Acoustis is kind of thriving there and investing in the community, I don't see how it doesn't meet in the Uptown Plan.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else on the board have any questions or comments?
No.
If not, let's move on to the seeker. I would entertain a motion to approve the type 2 seeker resolution.
All right, this is Gary Humes. I'll make a motion to approve type 2 seeker resolution for Bergman representing Acoustics Technologies, CPN 20-0.
Second, Gary.
Okay, a motion, a second. The only comment I have is, was the last plan revision the 26th of March, or the plans that we had was the 20th of March? Can someone from Bergman clarify the latest revision of the plans that we're looking at?
Mine says March 10th. Is that right for the
The ones I have on the screen say they're revised on March 26th.
March 26th? Then it isn't. Yeah.
Was that up in the revision block?
Yeah.
Was that for zoning or was that for us though? The 26th, was that?
That was for you guys, but it's possible that the plans were just changed slightly. If I recall, I think it was just adding like the wetland area, a couple minor details, but.
Okay, well then the resolution stands as written. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you guys have it. Thank you, fellows. Moving on to the site plan approval.
I'll move the single site plan approval, CPN 20-13. And I think we clarified that the on-site plans were, the last date was March 26th, not March 10th. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah, that's the last revised date.
So that would be the,
Sharon?
yep. With the conditions that Lance will so lovely read.
Okay. Number one, the site plan approval with conditions specified herein is valid for a period of 180 days from today. Once all conditions of the site plan approval have been met and shown on revised drawings, including the revision dates, the planning board chairperson will then sign the site plans. Number two, and this is again for your consideration, the soil stabilization and erosion control surety estimate is to be prepared by the applicant and provided to the town development office for review and processing in accordance with local law 19/2017, amending chapter 174, section 174-32F. Number three, the comments within the town engineer's letter dated April 10th is to be addressed to the satisfaction of the town engineer prior to signing by the planning board chairman. Number four, a site development permit application is to be completed and provided to the town of Canandaigua prior to the planning board chairperson's signature being affixed on the final site plans. And number five, no building permits are to be issued until Canandaigua Lake County Sewer District provides a letter of approval to the development office regarding their review of the application. If the county requires changes to the site plans, then resubmittal to the planning board for approval may be required.
Okay, before I get a second, how do we feel about number two?
Yeah, I was going to comment on that because I think all they're tearing up really is asphalt here primarily, right? Parking spaces and, I mean, there might be a little grassy area there, but it's not really soil that they're tearing up, I don't believe, are they?
Nope.
No, and I think the site development permit would cover this too, and there's a C of O that had to be issued. So I would imagine any stabilization that's required vegetative wise could be assured by the code enforcement officer before he issues at the very least the C of O. So I think we can forego number two.
Okay.
So 4 conditions.
Okay,
Four conditions.
do you accept that amendment, Karen?
With the 4 conditions then.
Okay. Okay, I need a second.
Second. Bob?
Thank you, Bob. Okay, a motion by Karen, second by Bob. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, gentlemen, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
You can
very
hang
much.
around if you want to. If you're having fun. Or go have
Bobby
dinner.
Marchinese was able to join us.
Ah,
if we want
great.
to handle the skylight signs one.
Okay, then we'll double back to and reconvene the hearing on skylight signs representing the auto wash number 3. Yeah, I just, if you want to give us an overview of what you intend to do, I think it's pretty clear, but just for the record, since you made the effort to call in, why don't you let us know what you're doing?
Sure, yeah. I was expecting Jeremy to be here, but I'll do my best with my limited knowledge here. We're basically asking for permission for 3 signs. The main one is going to be the street sign. We want to replace the LED panels that are currently on there now with new updated panels, which would be approximately 41 inches wide. I'm sorry, 41 inches tall by 8 foot 3 inches wide.
Sorry, I know I have a, there it is.
There it is.
Yep, so that's what's there now. So we want to replace that LED panel on the bottom half of the sign.
Okay. And you're going to keep the, that, what is it, the time and temperature thing, whatever?
Correct, yep.
So that will be operational, the time and temperature thing?
Correct, that's the plan. It's not operational right now.
No, but it will be. You're going to maintain that as an operational feature.
Correct, yes.
All right, that was my question.
Cool. And then you have the 2
Yeah,
building
so-
mounted signs.
Yep, if you want to go back, what you just flashed there were the acrylic letters. Yeah, so these are just acrylic letter cutouts, which we're proposing to put in the peak, which if you want to go forward again, yep, right there where that green circle is. That would be on the side of the building facing Aldi.
Yep.
So as you're driving along County Road 10 towards 5 and 20, you would see that.
Yep. And then the other one.
Yep. Now this is on the 5 and 20 side. These are channel letters, which are basically aluminum letters that are cut out and they stand off the building a few inches. And it's called a halo lit sign. So there would be a faint glow behind the letters.
Okay. There.
I did pull up an example of what a halo lit sign looks like. If you wanted me to share my screen.
Yeah.
Hold on one sec. Let me, where are you here?
Is it different at night than during the day?
Yeah, that's why I was hoping to show you an example. At nighttime, it would glow.
Hmm.
Is there a way for me to share my screen, Eric?
I thought there was, but I can't right now. I'm sorry.
Okay. If you
Stopper, but I'd like to see it sometime. Yeah.
you might be able to Google halo lit sign if you want to do that real quick, or if that's too much trouble.
No, I can do that.
I think that's easy enough.
Yep.
Is that kind of what we're looking at?
There you go.
Yep. Something like that.
All right. Then my understanding is, I think I read in the operations that it was going to be on a timer. So at midnight, it was going to go off and then come back on again, I guess, at dusk.
We could do that.
That's what I read.
Yeah, that's what the statement of operations says. Signs on a timer and shut off before midnight every night.
Okay. That's the
How
first
about-
time I'm seeing that statement of operations, but yeah, we can go with that.
How about the bank sign? Will that be on 24/7?
That was the intention. I believe that's the way it was set up before we turned it off.
Yeah, I think when Community Bank was there, it was on all the time. So
I'm not 100% sure about this, but I'm pretty sure there's a way to dim that at night so it wouldn't be as bright.
okay.
We had an LED sign at another location in Buffalo, which we were able to do that with.
Hey, Bobby, this is Bob. I sent Eric a letter, and it was answered. And for Eric, I just want to share that goes part of the meeting notes, that the wattage and all of that signage complied with town codes.
Yeah, that's correct. It's definitely part of the project record. I don't have it available to pull up right now.
Yeah.
Do you have the spec sheet, Eric, for that LED panel?
I don't believe I do right now. This is all I have for that.
Okay, I could email it over to you if you don't have it.
Does the board want to see it right now? I mean, as far
No.
as the specs,
No, I
on
don't
it,
see a
it's-
need. No.
Yeah, it's Chris Jensen will make sure it meets the town code. Same lanes.
Okay.
On that bank sign, our code currently requires the street address be mounted on the ground sign. So I think there's a way of doing that on the vertical post there in that indentation right there. Yeah. Could you make that a condition of the any approval, Lance? Thank you, Lance. Okay. Anybody else have any questions? This is both a, excuse me?
Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I was muted and I couldn't talk. And I tried to get back to, could you repeat that condition?
That the street number be put on the vertical post of the commonly referred bank sign, the ground sign.
Yep. Okay. We've had that before. I got it.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on this application? If not, I noticed the OCPB did not send us any response, so it's duly noted that we did not receive anything from the county. We are considering both a special use permit and an amended site plan associated with the special use. Eric, does it meet all the conditions of a special use permit for this particular zoning district? I didn't.
Yeah, they're pretty light for signs within a commercial district.
Okay.
Yes, and I've also included that language in your findings.
Okay, anybody have anything else?
I just want to make note that this is a public hearing, so we got to make sure that there's nobody else online that is here wants to make a comment.
Thank you, Gary. Is there anyone out there that would like to make a comment on this particular application?
There's a few people muted, so if they want to speak, they'll have to unmute themselves to do so, just so they're aware.
Okay. Well, hearing none, I will entertain a motion for the seeker type 2 action.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, as part of the previous application, I had referenced, I had completed a part 2 and a part 3 for you, which I did for this application. However, this is a type 2 action and all resolutions that I provided reference that. So I just wanted to make sure for the record that this is a type 2 action under seeker and there is no seeker forms type 2, part 3 or part 2 that need to be completed as part of this process.
I knew in my delirium that I'd seen it somewhere, so, okay.
Yeah, I thought that was the one you saw.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Not totally going crazy being locked up. Okay.
All right, given that I will, I'll make a motion to approve a seeker resolution type 2 for a special use permit approval.
Second. Yep.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's move on to the, I guess we do the plan
Site-
first.
Yeah, the site plan.
Okay,
So
this
these
is,
are the same conditions as before?
These are standard conditions as it relates to the special use permit site plan application.
Okay.
With the addition of the ground site that have the street number added to it.
All right, that'll be number 5.
Correct.
speaking of site plan, would the board look at their copy of the plan and see what the date is? I'm looking at March 20th.
Oh, I have the, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm showing.
Okay, so Lance, I guess on all three resolutions, I think you had the 12th.
Yeah, we had the 12.
So,
I based it on the zoning determination. I apologize.
no problem.
I'll make a motion, this is
That's what we're
Ryan,
here
to
for.
approve single-stage site plan, CPN 220-35 with the 5 conditions.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second that, Ryan.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, got a motion and a second for the amended site plan approval for the car wash signage. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's have it. All right, one more on this one. Someone want to take the special use permit?
I'll move the special use permit. Uh-oh, just went off my screen though. Let's see. The special use permit.
You got to scroll to the top, Eric, so we can read the stuff on top.
Yeah, I had it on another page, but it just went off. Okay, CPN 20-012, special use permit for the
Light signs.
the skylight sign, yes, with the following 4 conditions, right? 5 conditions, yep.
Okay, where do you want to put the
Amendment?
condition about the street address?
I think we should add it to this one as well, like we
Okay.
did with the site plan, so there would be 6 conditions.
Okay. So we have a motion from Karen, and did I get a second? I'm sorry.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All righty, again, with the correction on the date of the last revised plan or the plan, with those corrections being made, I will accept. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Guys got it. Okay. John, I was on mute when I closed the hearing.
Yeah, I heard you, no problem.
You could read lips, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I got it.
All right, so moving off the public hearings, we move on to Venezia Associates representing Terry Dekowski on a sketch plan for a property that we're all familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is like a moving target, this property. First of all, it keeps getting bigger, the project, which in some cases is probably good because it gets more continuity to it.
Thomas Road.
But now we're out to airport. So who wants to present what is being done? Anthony, are you taking care of this, or is there someone else out there?
Rocco's
Chuck, I'm out here, Rocco.
Hey, Rocco, how you been?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I called in, so I've got you on the computer, but I called in, so.
We're reading you loud and
just to
clear.
give you a brief background, we started this with just the 2 parcels to the north under different ownership, Wally Jones and Terry Dekowski. And then as we got going, we were going to go in a conservation subdivision direction for that parcel, which I call the northern parcel. But as we got further into it, we realized that, we have to have some other connection points, and the property to the south was available. So we reached out to the neighbors to the south and brought that into the fold. And what I mean by the fold is the Tukowski and Jones and Billetier and Farchione are the owners until the time it gets approvals, at which time Anthony and I will be the owners and we'll be the developers. So that's the scenario. So it is all under our control to get the approvals. So what we're proposing right now is what you see on the screen. There's a number of issues we have to deal with. So there's some open-ended stuff, and basically that's the area to the west that's in that kind of lime green color hatching.
We're over here. Mm-hmm. This is Brickyard Road.
Yeah, off of Brickyard, yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, okay. So I'm Ginger,
Wait,
and
hold on
my
one
husband
second,
and
Ginger.
I live on Thomas
Ginger.
Road.
Excuse me, Ginger.
Yes.
The way this meeting is going to proceed is that the applicant will present, and then the board will ask their questions, and then we'll open it up to the public to ask your questions. So you're going to have,
no
the opportunity
problem.
to talk, but we'll let everybody know when that time is.
Okay, sorry.
You're fine. Thank you.
So right now we're kind of in flux with that area to the west. That area could eventually, and the financing on the project, the economics of the project may enable us just to donate to the town as parklands or just keep it forever green. We just don't know, and one of the big holdups there is the sewer. There is some opportunities to maybe work with the airport, and I think Bob Minster's in on a meeting, Bob, and maybe he could address that a little bit after I'm done talking. We certainly would entertain working with them, and the reason I call that a flex area is because if we do make a deal with them, we may proceed out into that area and do some more development. So right now, I think there's, I don't know, I kind of lost count, but I think there's probably, somewhere around 100 units in this proposal. We've been told by Eric and Doug Finch that we've got some latitude in terms of, a little bit different rules because we're an MUO than we would if we were in a conservation subdivision in terms of conserving lands. I think I've been pretty conservative to protect as much buffer space as I could on this project. I've certainly left buffer around any existing homes and the school district property, and I think the property itself and the project itself is self-sustained, and the only thing that affects it is, the only homes that are affected by homes we're building are homes that we would have built. So that's the scenario. We'd like to have your input, and I appreciate your patience because I know this has gone back and forth and you've seen it a couple times. And then we would like to proceed to the town board after we meet with you. So having said that, I'll open up the questions from you guys. And Anthony, if you have anything to add, go ahead.
I think you hit all the major discussions we've been talking about. So let's hear what the planning board has to say.
What's the significance of call it the red buildings, the apartments? How's it? Obviously, they differ from the duplexes that you have to the rest of the project. Tell me a little bit about those.
So what we'd like to do is see like a 2-story apartment building. Maybe they would be a townhome that has a up and a down, and there'd be 4 units, or maybe there'd be 8 units. We still haven't decided that yet. That might, in fact, even end up being single-family patio homes. We're just a little too far out to know for sure what that's going to be.
All right. Well, let's not spend a lot of time on what the building type is and what the different uses are. How about the street layout, folks? What do you think of that compared to what we've seen in the past?
Pardon me, Chuck?
I was asking the board.
Oh, okay. I thought you were asking me.
No, I was going to ask the board what they feel, how they feel about the street layout as compared to some of the other plans that we've seen.
And this is Bob. I think you've done a good job trying to fit as many houses. My problem with this plan and reviewing it is it's very difficult to see setbacks and how they're there. They also look tight. They look tight on several places. So it's hard to review just by this plan for me.
Airport Road.
Eric, could you give us a sort of recap, MUO versus conservation subdivision? I guess if it went MUO, this is not in the MUO zoning, or is it?
Oh, it absolutely is.
Oh, it is? Okay, I wasn't sure it had to be added. Okay.
Okay, so
No, it's absolutely in the MUO, yeah.
So
it's
Eric,
in the MUO overlay zone, so it would still have to go through the process of being rezoned, but it is in that overlay. So the previous sketch plan that you guys had seen was proceeding or showing as if it was a conservation subdivision. The MUO overlay does not, to my recollection, make requirements on like dwelling density or dwelling unit density of a particular lot in the same way that conservation subdivision does. So the applicant gets that benefit, whereas in conservation subdivision, they're limited to what the zoning says for the dwelling units.
So Eric, as it relates, this is Lance with MRB Group. As it relates to MUO overlay and the rezoning, there would also be some relief as it relates to setbacks. Is that correct?
Right. Yep.
So when they apply for the town board to rezone, ultimately what the town board would be approving as part of that process would be some minimum setback requirements associated with this development, and then ultimately the number of units associated with this development, and then that would be the footprint for the zoning for this lot, for this project, before it comes back to you guys.
Sort of. I would say that the town board won't officially rezone it with those different standards until the planning board, or until and after the planning board has approved a preliminary overall subdivision plan.
So
the
then
planning
what is
board
the,
would still be involved in that.
gotcha. Then remind me then, how do we set the minimum setbacks? Is it still per the underlying zoning?
No, I mean, the town board will take the official action to set that setback.
Okay,
but
thank you.
It's flexible. It's not required to be what the minimum is in the underlying zoning. And, you know, the town board has leeway essentially over what it ends up being.
Yeah, I misunderstood. It goes to the town board first and then to the planning board for preliminary and then back to the town board.
Right, yep.
Yeah.
So the town board would deem it appropriate for this particular
Where?
lot or area. And then it would come to us for our initial review, then it would go back for rezoning, and then it would come back to us for site plan approval.
You got it.
Chuck, it's Rocco. I have a procedural question. In terms of doing a preliminary, the whole thing, because we have a couple situations where we don't know about sewer, we don't know about this.
Oh, so it's behind us.
How are we going to handle that? I mean,
Well, I would assume you do an overall, an overall to the best of what you know at the time you file it. And then if conditions change while you come in for your phases or sections, then
we do it amended?
It would be amended. Yeah, you get, I guess it'd be a approved overall preliminary, and then you would have probably a final approved section by section.
So is there a time frame on this preliminary? So we get preliminary approval. Is it good for 5 years, 2 years, 10 years, forever?
We're going through that right now with a different project, but essentially the planning board would have to make a determination that either conditions on the site have changed or the rules have changed to say that that it's no longer valid. And that's assuming that the preliminary overall plans are signed.
Yep.
Rocco,
So in
do you,
essence, if I follow them to the letter of the law, I could be doing this 8 years from now and not have to go back to preliminary.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to take me a while to build all this. This is a lot of infrastructure. This is a big project. It's one of the biggest projects we've ever seen, you know?
Well,
So, Rocco, this is Lance, and board is, again, I think if I understand correctly, what we're suggesting is that you would phase it in a manner that works best for you.
Correct.
And then that overall phasing plan would be what we would ultimately approve as part of the preliminary overall. And then you would come back for a final for each one of those when you were ready to move forward with those.
Correct.
and
Correct.
the town would still have input in that phasing plan if they wanted something done as part of a particular phase, correct?
Correct. So, the utilities and the roadway alignment are going to be key as part of the phasing. So I think Rocco will have to come up with a plan that works for him, and at the same time accommodate some of those infrastructure and requirements that the town may otherwise oppose. Same with drainage.
Correct.
And we would want that as part of any initial plan so that we can see how this thing's gonna plan out. Obviously, it's subject to change along the way, but at least we'd have an overall plan to guide us.
Is there any objection to what we're proposing right now? I mean, we're just getting into this. I mean, overall, does it look like something that seems doable to the planning board?
I'm open to any comments from the board.
It's too preliminary. I can't say yes because it depends on input from the neighborhood and all.
And Chuck speaking, Rocco, this thing with the apartments, I mean, it sounds like you're really up in the air what you want to do. Right now it sticks out like a sore thumb. I don't know what your considerations are there, but it's something that maybe is not you'd have to look at the marketing and how it would work. I guess that street would be a private street to service the apartments and.
That's the idea. And if you'll notice where we put them, it's surrounded by the back end of the school district. It's surrounded by the outside of property that you won't see these from anywhere. Mm-hmm. It's going to be well contained. And like I said before, if we can make a sewer deal with the airport, that might in fact be duplexes or fourplexes or patio homes. I guess that's just on my wish list of things. And if you look at the MUO, apartments are a big part of the MUO. And when I met with Doug, he thought that was something that the town was looking for. So that's why they're there.
Okay.
To be honest with you, my builder and I aren't apartment kind of builders. We're more duplexes and patio homes. And if we decided those were duplexes, that wouldn't be a problem for me.
Rocco, without giving up anything that's confidential, are you looking at any other properties now out there? I mean, your kingdom has grown, which is good. You were at one time, I think, talking about the property to the east over towards Summers Drive. Is that still a possibility?
That's still a possibility. That's in negotiation, but it's we're not really close to making a deal on that. Okay. But that's certainly something that just in confidence. I mean, I know that we've got a great relationship, and I'll share this with you. I may end up doing the engineering for that little strip between what we're doing in Summers Drive, and maybe Mr. Billetier would bring in a subdivision application once we get going, where he would show residential units on that street. I think that's kind of where it might go. where Anthony and I don't buy that, but he develops it with our help and in conjunction with what we're doing.
Okay.
Does that, yeah.
No, I'm just trying to get this to the point where we know what the boundaries are regarding this project. And
So when this whole MUO thing started, Anthony and I, with our other development projects that we have going on Westlake Road and the rest of Fox Ridge, we were looking for a parcel up on this end of town. And we looked at 2 or 3 different parcels out on County Road 28 to the east, and they were problematic, and we could. And then all of a sudden, we got our attention turned to this, and we ended up buying it. And we actually have bought everything available within the MUO in that block. So to the west of us is the airport.
Mm-hmm.
So to the north of us is a golf course. To the east of us is all the commercial stuff on 332, and to the south is Baptist. So we've pretty much kind of cornered the market, or per se, on development in that little corridor there that you guys consider the MUO. And the thing that attracted us as developers was that it is a MUO, and it is an area that I think the town would like to see some residential development, and we're looking forward to having a good partnership and making that happen.
Okay.
So this is Gary Humes. Just a couple questions, and Chuck started alluding to it the first time. I kind of saw that property that goes over Summers Road on the east side there. Would there be any, if you did have that, or you're going to do something with that, would it make sense to take the road that's the proposed road in the development and have that come out and intersect with Summers Drive rather than bend down to Airport Road?
Yeah. So if you could you swing that down so I can see that area better, Eric? I'm cut off a little bit. No, the other way. So I think you're alluding to the way this road loops down around off of Thomas and comes back onto Thomas. Okay, that's kind of a spillover, Gary, from the original layout.
Right.
Right now, what we're getting ready for in the preliminary drawings is that's actually going to cul-de-sac. The reason we had to have that road was we didn't have control of the property going back down to Brickyard. Now that we own or control both properties, our total access will be from Thomas to Brickyard, so we don't need that secondary access point. So that's definitely going to go away. There's going to be no road going up through there. And then trying to get out through Bruce Campbell's road property on the east, we're blocked. That's all wetlands. That's all federal wetland.
Oh.
So we can't get through there.
Okay, I didn't know that. And then I guess the next question is, what does the Canandaigua City School District use that adjoining property down there in the south for?
It's their bus garage.
In their operations center.
Oh,
So
is
they
that what-
have some like conference rooms and stuff like that in there too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's probably, I was wondering if is that a potential sale coming or down the line, or are they probably going to keep that in perpetuity?
No, I wouldn't imagine. I would never pursue that, and I can't imagine that, that they would want to sell any of it. I mean, and I don't know how it would. How it would enhance or help our project at all, except for maybe some sewer access. And I may approach them for some sewer access across kind of a diagonal across their property at some point. But that's kind of preliminary, because if I can work something out with the airport, which I'm hopeful for, in meeting with Bob Minster a couple weeks ago, I think that's kind of the way we'll go.
Okay, and I guess the only other thing, I'm kind of with Chuck. I'm still a little. I don't know what the right word is. Confused. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Intrigued or something between the apartments and then the I don't know what those patio homes or whatever they might be, duplexes.
They're duplexes. So
okay.
If you've been out there, Gary, if you look on the north side of Thomas Road,
same type of thing as on the other side of Thomas. Okay.
Yeah. A lot of those are fourplexes, and we're duplexes. So so the property line between the two individual land homeowners will be right down that common wall.
Right.
And
I guess
then
I'm
they'll
just
both
won-
have green. Go ahead.
I would just say, I'm just wondering if it's, and I don't want this to come out in a derogatory or negative way at all. I don't know, but is it two different type of client bases? Would it be best to have, because the only way you get to the apartments is going through the duplex community.
It's something we certainly can look at coming in from Brickyard, yeah.
Yeah, you come in from Brickyard and develop a whole, an apartment complex or community of apartments in that area, and then keep the other duplex as more of another, development or another.
Yeah, Gary, that's a good point. And just between you and I, my son and I want to do the duplexes with Ron Hinkle from Pinnacle Homes in Rochester, and Ron's attending the meeting right now. So, but the apartments, we might just sell that off. You know what I'm saying? To somebody who's good at building apartments. So if we can make a deal with for sewer, we'll be open and maybe not even include the apartments in this project at all. So I think it's there basically because Doug asked me to put it there, and it was his opinion that that's something that meets this. I guess there's something that when we talk about mixed use overlay, we maybe want to have some rental units, and maybe some of the duplexes will be rental units. In fact, I'd like to keep a couple myself for rental units, and of course, all the ones on the north side of Thomas Road are rental units. So I think there's part of being in this MUO is allowing and providing rental units also for residents.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of having some apartments, for
I don't.
young family, just newlyweds or people that are just single people that want to come up and want to work in this area and around that uptown area. If you were to do something like that, I guess my only comment there would be don't just have a straight road with apartments across the end. Kind of wind around and spread it out a little bit with some green space in between, and kind of just not all.
We can do that, Gary.
Yeah. All right, that's kind of the comments I have.
Thanks, Gary. Good points. Anyone else from the board before I go out into the stratosphere?
Yes, this is Ryan. I have some comments I'd like to share.
Sure, Ryan.
So I have kind of like four major components to bring up. My first one is I like the density. I think it's appropriate in this area. I feel like it meets the Uptown Plan. I do like it. I think it's crafty to not go conservation subdivision. It seems like it fits into the mixed use overlay. I mean, that's why we have the MO, and we don't really have many developers taking advantage of that. So I kind of feel like this is a ripe project for that to happen. My second comment is I would like to see more mixed uses, though, some more, some types of commercial to kind of capitalize off of the airport being there. And especially like right now with what we're going through in these times, there's no better time to think about the value of mixed uses in our community. And like, how can people get someplace close for some light commercial? So mixed uses, I think would be good. But again, I like the density. Would like to see some more mixed uses. My third comment is I'm interested in that easement, and if there's possibility to like have a trail over the easement where we can maybe use that as a connector for walkability and like bike riding and walkability in the area. I don't know those details, but for example, can a road and a trail go near that easement, and how close could they go?
So Ryan, not to interrupt you, but if I think that Eric just windowed in on it.
Yeah.
I'm showing that right on top of that as a pedestrian trail, and the easement that's in place wouldn't prohibit that. And we would give the town an easement over that, so that would be a pedestrian trail. And then the other easements or trails that you guys would want to tie in off of that, we'd be more than happy to provide that.
Yeah.
We think that's an important component of the project.
Just to note on that easement, Ryan, we just have to make sure it is okay with the pipeline company to have that kind of access. We are been talking to them, and we just want to make sure that that is something that they're okay with.
Yeah, cool. No, I think it's great. And then, also one of my thoughts is why that road wouldn't go parallel more to that, but whatever. And then my fourth and final comment, and I really don't know how the developers would grapple with this, but I really am concerned that we protect the town of Canandaigua and the residents into perpetuity with any potential litigation in the future of any residents complaining or have issues with the airport. I think we as a town have to balance and make sure that the airport is protected with any potential development here, and that there's no litigation into the future, and that we keep that as a vital part of our community, along with encouraging this kind of development. I don't know how we grapple with that. I don't think it's the developers' situation to deal with. I think it's more of the town, and I just want to get that on the record, that I really do think we need to really take that very seriously moving forward with this development. I encourage development. I like it, but we also have that resource that we're trying to make a big part of our community. Those are my comments.
Okay, good points, Ryan. John, are you getting all these? Just give me a thumbs up if you are. Okay. All good points. I just want to make sure we have them on the record. Okay. Anyone else from the board?
This is Gary. I just want to thank Ryan for his comment on more mixed use in there. I think that was an excellent comment. I endorse that. I'm kind of looking at that whole little section there where the apartments are, kind of in my mind thinking, if you've got a lot of people in apartments, okay, so you put a dry cleaner in there so they can go there. You put a little Starbucks on the corner so they can go down and get a coffee. You do, little things like that help them live in that community. And then you're also right across from the airport, so somebody could come over from the airport if they're waiting for their plane to arrive or whatever to get there. I think that's just an excellent suggestion, and I just wanted to thank Ryan for that.
Gary, if you look where Eric's arrow is right now, he's moving it, but right there, Randy Farnsworth owns a parcel. You see that?
Yep.
Yep, I see it.
Okay, we met with Randy, and actually, as part of our plan, and I took it off of the plan, we had a road coming in off of Summers Drive, coming up through Randy's property, and then tying back into our road. And along that road, and I can put this back in quick enough and show you guys at a future meeting. But we had a little takeout restaurant. We had a little community center. We had some office buildings. So we had 4 different buildings with access all the way around them, and it looked pretty kind of cool. But we took it off, and it was after the meeting with Doug, because I guess in some of the thinking on this is that it's a mixed use residential. It's not really a mixed use. It's Eric, you might have to help me on this. In terms of, I'm going to lose my.
Not commercial.
I'm losing myself right now.
So, this area, the town did the Uptown Plan, and that was adopted early last year, I think. This area of the Uptown planning area is what's considered, or what they planned on having, as a mixed residential district. So within Uptown, they've broken it down into a couple other areas. There's like a mixed use area, the mixed use form-based code area along the 332 corridor. And then there's another mixed use form-based code one along Fire Hall Road. And then kind of outside of that is the mixed residential area. Now, what uses they foresee there, I mean, obviously residential is the obvious one, some smaller lot sizes, townhomes, duplex maybe. So that's certainly what they foresee there in the mixed residential. But as far as like neighborhood commercial style uses, I don't think it's particularly clear whether that's envisioned or not. The town is doing the study to essentially figure that out, to lay out those codes and what they would be right now with Bergman. Obviously, there's a bit of a delay at the moment, but we hope to have a better idea in May. They had said that they might have a draft code for us. But we don't know just yet exactly what the regulations of the mixed residential district will be.
So I appreciate the comment, and I'm willing to do it, and we did have it in there, and it looks quite attractive, Gary, so it is a good comment.
Since I was able to see that one, and although it wasn't submitted afterwards, I did like that a bit better. It had something of like a commercial square that the residential was sort of surrounded.
Yeah,
that.
This is Ryan talking, and that's what I think that we've been talking about these ideas for several years. I don't think I want a pizzeria on every block, but something where people can, a tiny, small commercial area. The airport's right there. We hope that place is going to be growing. People are going to be driving by there. It just seems like a really cool area to have some small buildings with some commercial. And just as a side note, Eric, I would encourage that we don't we don't encourage Bergman to write rules that we have to follow to the T with mixed use overlays, because we want them to be flexible, right? Isn't that part of the comment? Okay.
Well, so I imagine it will be. It's certainly on my mind as we're drafting that stuff. The more flexible district will be the form-based code one, just because, again, it's form-based. It's not your standard Euclidean, which is pretty inflexible outside of the zoning board. Not clear exactly how strict the mixed residential is, but it'll certainly have more flexibility than the R120 or the base zoning districts that are out there right now.
Okay. Eric, Summers Road, does the Uptown Plan propose anything to be built along there? The Farnsworth property, the Campbell property, the improvement of Summers and the development of those properties could be more in the commercial vein also.
Yeah, as I recall, I think the borderline between the kind of commercial form-based code one, mixed use, along the 332 corridor, that borderline is Summers Drive, and then whatever's west of that would be like the mixed residential, and that would kind of run in between Airport, Thomas, Brickyard, and Summers. South of Airport is a industrial overlay zone.
Okay, all right. Well, again, all good points. Anyone else from the board?
Can I add a couple comments while I've got everybody? Kind of touching on Ryan's point in the conversation we had, I do think that it was nice to have those more neighborhood commercial uses down here, whether it's, a gym area for people to go to or stuff like that. I think that if we're considering that the denser form-based stuff will be down by 332, certainly more towards the city of Canandaigua, I think if you were going to put apartments on this site, it would make more sense to put them in the southeast corner so that they could have more easy access without potentially driving. If you could reduce vehicular traffic, that'd be great. I think the road layout, I would like to see it changed. Obviously, I've made that comment before, but in the mixed use area, I think it's more appropriate to have something of a grid style development more so than what this is, which not clear what the stop signs might look like, but this road would be a pretty fast traveled road, I would feel like, along the various other straight ones. So trying to find different road alignments that might reduce vehicle speed, promote walkability, stuff like that, I think would be an enhancement on this site.
Okay, anyone else from town board or town staff? Okay, I will, Ginger, since you piped up first, I will call on you. You have any comments on the
Yes.
project or specifically this plan?
Yes, my husband and I live on 5509 Thomas Road. And we are in Florida right now because we're kind of stuck here from the virus. So anyway, we obviously are not too happy with this because we lived in the country for 25 years and now it's not going to be country. I do have a few questions. I think, have you done any traffic analysis here? Because it looks like there's going to be a lot of more people here than we're used to.
That's one thing, Ginger, I was going to mention, that probably a traffic study would be required as part of the review eventually. So yes, there will be a traffic study.
Also, I thought they had, or you or someone had designated this commercial zoning or something.
Yeah, we're probably referring to the process that extended the MUO overlay area. I think it covered part of this property before, I can't recall, or at least maybe the borderline with Bruce Campbell running south and over to Brickyard Road. So it extended from Bruce Campbell's property over to Brickyard Road. That was a town board action late last year. So that was what brought this into the mixed use overlay zone. It's not that it was designated commercial per se.
Okay, well, I mean, we would prefer it to be residential, but so, I mean, it's not all bad. Now I see on the east, there's like green space behind the houses, where on the west, where we are, there's, looks like it's about 10 feet between our property and these duplexes. This is
Eric, could you put an arrow on their property?
Is that right here? I don't know if you can see this.
Bedard,
Yeah.
right here.
That's it.
This is,
That's
yeah.
it.
No, next to it, right? Go right. Yep, that's it.
Okay.
Is that about 10 feet or is that?
No,
I think it's well over 10 feet.
Really?
No, 50, Eric.
50?
Yeah.
It'd be 40 or 50 feet, Ginger.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's,
A minimum.
that's how it looks, right?
Yeah.
Let's see, how many? I guess the only other question is, how can we get a copy of this?
If you email me, and then we'll get you a copy.
What's your name?
It's just coming up, Town of Canandaigua.
Yeah, so my name is Eric Cooper.
Okay.
My email is ecooper@townofcanandaigua.org. And if you go to the town's website and the development office page, you can find my contact info there.
Okay,
too.
thank you.
Anything else, Ginger?
Nope, I get.
Okay. Well,
Well,
thank
maybe
you
my
for,
husband has something. Do you have something? No.
well, thanks folks for joining in. And this is not a project that will happen overnight, so it'll take some time to develop, and you'll certainly be involved in the process as we go along. So again,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for your input.
Hey, Chuck,
Yes, Bob.
I had a comment on Ginger's thought there. Rocco, would you entertain any kind of blocking landscaping at all? But
Oh, good question.
I mean, yeah, it's natural that we would, yes. I don't, I'm showing some landscaping along the road, and to show some landscaping, all the way behind all the buildings, no, but maybe in specific areas where, Ginger has her concerns, yes, we would definitely consider that, yeah.
And the planning board does review that as part of like preliminary, overall, and final for the phases.
And we would also propose, if it was agreeable with the town and agreeable with them residents, that instead of that being a conserved space, that green space, that 40 or 50 feet being owned by the homeowners, that we actually extend that as a conservation space and let those landowners own it. And we would vegetate it for them, and it would be a bonus. They would have deeper lots. I mean, we certainly could do just about anything here, and that might be a good way to go about doing it, Chuck. Maybe that would be a compromise.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's good to have a buffer from either property. Because, I mean,
I understand.
it's certainly, yeah, certainly, I'm sure Ginger and her family would not take advantage of extending into that, going almost up to the back of the duplexes, but that could happen with other neighbors. The next thing you know, you've got tree houses and different things that different structures, sheds, and playground equipment and all, and it's right in the backyard of these duplexes. All right. So the only thing we haven't talked about, and I know Bob Mintzer's on the call, is the airport. And anybody have any input? And I'm sure Rocco would like to hear any input regarding the proximity of the airport.
Hi, Chuck. This is Bob Mintzer. Well, since you asked, I primarily tuned in just to hear the board comment. I got to say, I appreciate the proposal as it's presented. You know, I've discussed it with Rocco before, and moving everything to the east certainly helps. However, this the residential area is still in close proximity to the airport, and when you're looking at, I'm guessing 500 people, residents near the airport, the likelihood of somebody complaining about noise and perceived safety issue is pretty likely.
Yes.
This does, it falls within the traffic pattern area parts of it, not nearly over the houses, but the approaches to the south runway. Aircraft will be approaching, possibly directly over to fly over. They'd probably be at an altitude of 1,500 feet above the ground at that point. Again, approaching aircraft are not necessarily noisy, but people look up over their houses and see airplanes flying that close. May have a problem with it. Personally, I like having that many residents in the proximity of the airport, because our plan is to support the community and have the community part of the airport. And Rocco's drawn a nice line reading path directly to it. I would say, though, I would offer this is that a number of states have enacted a real property disclosure law where, prospective buyers of properties and this is what Ryan was alluding to, I think, as an option, where prospective buyers would receive an airport disclosure statement. And basically this would have to be a local law that the town would have to adopt and identify specific areas which we could certainly help out in the town where any deed transfers would also include a notice or this disclosure statement alerting property buyers or that they're aware of their proximity to the airport. I mean, when you're looking at this many units and the potential for turnover, it could happen. You could have several in a year, in apartments even more. That should be something that they may present to renters, these rental properties. But I get some complaints. I'm the end of the line with complaints, but the first of the line are actually town officials. So this is I think that the town should consider it, because they property owners generally go to their local representatives and it goes to somebody else before it comes to me, and I address the problem itself. And I'm just speak for the airport. And again, Mercy Flight is also right there on Brickyard Road. They are not parcel included with the airport itself. So they're separate on their own. And they run all hours of the night, so in the day. And their helicopters are not quiet. So I do get concerns, calls concerning the airport, helicopters at Mercy Flight. So I just kind of like to avoid all that. Otherwise, I think this is a workable plan.
Okay, thanks, Bob. Do you have a form of that acknowledgement that you're referring to?
Yeah, I've got a whole examples I can pass on to Chris Nadler for airport disclosure laws.
Yeah, get them to Eric and Chris. At least to give them to Eric, and Eric can distribute it if you would.
Sure, no problem, Chuck.
Okay.
I'd like to see that, Eric, please.
Yeah, if Eric could send it out after we get it, and I'm sure Rocco would like to see it.
Yeah, I'll send it to everybody. I've got it for.
I think he showed it to me already, but yeah, you can copy me in on it, yeah.
Bob, is our resident aviator, any other questions or concerns?
Bob, this is Bob LaCourse. I think you know me.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, you mentioned Mercy Flight a little bit, but can you mention that I think this is their normal approach and departure is normally right over this field. Is that correct? And what is the altitude that they be at?
Frankly, if they're going to go on a call, they're going to go direct. And if they fly back, they fly back direct. So I don't know if they fly over this field any more than anywhere else. Typically, they return from Strong Memorial, which is to the northwest. But if they've got a call to the east, yes, they'll take off and fly right over this field. And then I've seen it quite often. And certainly they would try to mitigate as much as possible flying over any residential. But if there's a life-threatening situation, they're going to go get there.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, this is right off the launch pad. Okay, anybody else out in?
Yes, I have a question about the east side of the project.
Okay, and who is speaking, please?
Mark Henderson at 5435 Thomas Road.
Okay, Mark.
So I attended 2 sessions. One, the town board and asked if there was a development in the planning phases and was told no. And then at the one of my last planning boards, this project was proposed at the Brickyard Road, Thomas Road intersection area. And that the east side of this, where it's proposed now, was problematic because of the wetland in the pipelines that run back there. So the configuration of the roadway is different than what some of the proposals that we've seen. Is this a preliminary site review, or are you guys going to act on this tonight?
No,
this is a sketch plan review, so there's no action on our part. All we're doing is sort of noodling with the applicant in terms of ideas that we have and he has, and he can either accept them or reject them and take them back for consideration for probably an ultimate application to the board. And in this case, also it had to be the town board,
right?
Given the MUO. So at this point, it's strictly sketch, no decisions being made.
So, and I think Rocco, you're there. We had talked the one time where you kind of discounted this aspect of the lot for development because of some concerns. Where the roadway is, there's 2 Thomas roads, and you rightfully talked about the traffic concern, Eric, with a straightaway on the one portion from Thomas Road to Airport Road. I have the 2 properties that are right there where the road comes out. One's on the farthest to the east there is our home, and then the one next to it's an open lot. This doesn't show the house on Campbell's property. Is this in between the 2 houses?
No, it's to the east, right there where the arrow is.
Okay, so it's to the east of the house?
Yes.
To your property, to your house.
That's one, yeah.
Right. Right, so Eric, that's our house is depicted there as the last one next to the road there, right?
Yep, you're right there.
How much of a setback off of our property line to the start of the roadway would that be?
So Mark, so I explained this earlier in the meeting. That
My bad.
roadway that roadway we're showing going out there,
Yes.
that's not gonna happen.
Okay, I wasn't sure when you were talking which roadway was happening and what.
Yeah,
which
right
was
where the
not.
arrow is, right where the arrow is now, that road is gonna dead end at the last duplex and will not come out through there.
Okay, and that lighter shading of green, and those are the pipelines.
That's the gas line right away, yes.
Yeah, there's
We
actually
can't touch that, we can't do anything in that.
Well, I kind of knew that, and I kind of knew the town change. There was an area where this was an original proposed subdivision that abutted some commercial land, and I know there was some conversations with Randy and Bruce about bringing in a development. So my concern was that, and then as far as the duplex in a patio home, does the town have control over what type of home will be built or
Well,
structured?
we have to meet the code, but,
Which just changed, right? The density of the
just
code
so
just changed.
Mark, just so you know, they're gonna be very similar to what's across the street from you.
Right, and I talked to the builder and I was impressed with the work that he does, and he's a quality builder. I'm just
Yep.
trying to figure out the density, and then, like Ginger said, I would go on the record and ask for the buffer, of formalized structure, formalized plantings between the properties, but.
Mark, we'll definitely work with you, okay?
Great.
There's one other thing I want to bring up while I got everybody here, especially Eric. Eric has alerted me that your lot, the empty one,
Yes,
it's on record with the town as being an illegal subdivision. And it's something before I close on the property that we got to work out. So Eric, can you tell him a little bit about that?
Yeah, we have a letter. The county alerted me to it. It was a letter from like 1992 or something like that, that the lot that was at the time Dukowski 2 as well, that lot was illegally subdivided. And then the letter from the town is just stating that to the applicant, saying that you have to go through the process of subdividing it, whatever, but we don't have record of it actually being corrected after the fact.
so when we purchased that from Dukowski, we went to the county, and it was an approved lot, and Coker was our attorney, so I'll have to see what I can find for you on it.
Could you get back to me on that, Mark? Because it's something that before I can close on the property, I got to clean up.
Yeah, at some point that was brought up. We did buy direct from Dukowski on that. He also gave me right of first refusal on where the road would have gone out as to whether, but there's no sense now because it's not going to go out. Yeah, it was represented to us as an approved building lot with a lateral to the sewer already pre-existing.
If you have like documents to that effect and could send them to me or get them to me somehow, that'd be great.
Okay.
I could put that in the file.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Mark, you have anything else? Anyone else out there?
Just hopefully, we can stay in the loop and keep track of what's going on, and so we know.
Sure.
Yep.
Well, there'll be many meetings to discuss this. In
Great.
fact, we all had the revelation just a couple minutes ago that this plan is not the plan that Rocco's considering. I guess that road's going to end, you said,
Well,
Rocco?
I mean, listen. For what we're discussing tonight,
Yeah.
it certainly suffices. It's something. It's better than being scratched on a piece of toilet paper, And I take offense to it, Chuck, because I'm the one who drew it.
Well, if it was on toilet paper, it'd be worth something.
Yeah, I can't find any toilet paper though.
That's right. That's why it's on vellum. All righty. Anybody else in the group have any comments? Rocco, did you get some good input from everyone?
Yes, I appreciate it. Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.
Hopefully that'll get you rolling. If you have any questions, get a hold of Eric. And appreciate your coming in and sitting in on the meeting.
So one other question, Chuck.
Sure.
So I'm going to take this plan and go to correct, Eric? I'm going to the town board now?
if you wanted to start the MUO rezoning process, the first step is to create a sketch plan and petition the town board to rezone the property MUO. And then that starts the whole town board process. And they meet on it, kick it to the planning board for comments, back to the town board, then to the planning board, back to the town board, then to the
All right.
planning board.
So
But the
we're
first
gonna
step is a petition.
come back to the planning board again before we go to the town board?
No, you go to the town board and they can, since they've already seen this, they may not, but they can kick it back to the planning board for comments before they would then direct you to submit for preliminary site plan approval.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, Rocco.
Thanks, Rocco.
Good night. Good night. See you, Mark.
All right, folks.
Yep.
Oh, still here?
We're here.
Okay, hang with us, gang. All right, let's move down to Silvernail, since I think there's some representatives, some people who are interested in that project. Anthony, you want to tell us what happened out there? Or whoever's representing the applicant,
The owner's
HML?
on. The owner's on, so I'll let him kind of talk about it, and then we can talk about how we're gonna go forward with the project as is.
Okay, Chuck, are you there?
Yep.
Yeah, this is Dan Lester.
Hi, Dan.
I own the property out there, and we own HML properties. Eric, are you on?
Yep.
Okay, is everyone in receipt of the letter that I had sent you as requested?
Yep, we got the letter.
Okay, that gives you a good rundown of kind of what had happened, where the lapse was. It seemed that there was just some ignorance on my behalf and probably some miscommunication. But the plan going forward is to work a lot closer with either Eric or Chris, whoever with the town we have to work with, on definitely a lot more frequent basis than we had before, just to make sure that as we move forward, we're taking the right steps in the right order, and we don't run into any issues, as we move forward with everything.
Okay. Well, you certainly did a job out there. And I guess, the biggest concern I have is it is a very visible area where you sort of denuded the hillside there.
Right.
And I guess what we want to do is somehow, some way, over time, I guess, get this thing back to almost looking or close to looking what it looked like before in terms of vegetation. And I guess that's why we're here, is to somehow put on you some sort of requirements as to what has to be done, when it has to be done, and how it's going to be done. So with that,
sure.
With that preface, anybody from the board want to speak on this project? Ryan, I'm curious as to what your comments might be on this.
Well, I guess for the record, and I asked this of a lot of meetings, was there any economic impact or penalty to the landowner?
No. So right now, the violation or the code says that when the approvals of the planning board are violated, that essentially the planning board will determine kind of the route and process to proceed. So it hasn't gone to court. Theoretically, it could, but that process is kind of up to you guys,
I go to court.
or whether or not it does go there, anyways. Or the other option, of course, is to amending the site plan approval, any appropriate conditions being placed upon that moving forward. But it has not gone to court. They've shored up the site as Chris Jensen ordered them to do, stopped work on it, and then brought it back to you guys.
Yeah, and I guess the new site plan that Anthony had drafted up shows a grove of trees now to be reinstalled back on the hill to help, reinstall some of those trees that were removed.
We have dealt with applicants before that absolutely with intent violated the plans. I don't believe that's the case here, and I think that's a very important kind of thing. I mean, it's a complicated process, and I think, they pretty much convinced me in their letter that they did not understand the whole process, and I can understand that it's complicated. So I think we need to work with them.
Yeah, I think that's why I wanted to stress that, basically, we got out over our skis with this, and, moving forward, it's going to be incumbent on my wife and I to make a lot more contact with the town as we go step by step to make sure we're not running into any issues going forward. That, I appreciate you saying that. And it certainly there was no intent there to create any waves or any problems. We want to do the right thing, just looking to build a house for our family. And, certainly we don't want to, upset anybody or create any environmental issues out there. So, if you guys are willing to work with us, certainly we'll do whatever we have to do to make the property right and make everyone happy with what we're doing as a finished product. So.
I think this, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'd like to hear from Anthony. I think he said he was gonna talk about what the restoration methods other than the groves of trees, what else is being planned to reconstitute that area?
Gary, what we're going to do is as soon as we could get in there, one of the first steps is because it is clear we want to get that reestablished. So we will grade that area out that's outside of where the septic would be and lower, get that kind of cleaned up right away and get it growing as fast as possible. I'm just going to reconstitute it with seed. And if there's anything over those steeper areas, we're going to use some of that jute mesh material to kind of hold back those slopes. But the majority of the disturbance that was created is in a zone that doesn't really require that. It will take to seed, and if there is fertilizer needed, it'll take to seed just fine without any more reinforcement from like a jute mesh. But there is some jute mesh in some different scenarios on the site that we will put in place once we're back up and running. So there were those cuts that were made, but by the time that we were able to get in there and install those measures, we were shut down. So there will be that larger oak grove that we're going to put in, but other than that, we're going to reseed it and get it done as fast as possible so we can get, as soon as the growing season starts, we can get that established and take care of any kind of runoff.
What are the surrounding species that are still alive, Anthony?
I'd have to take a look. I'd have to go through there and kind of categorize it, but off the top of my head, I do not know.
Are you talking about?
We're just talking to this. It's like it's a hardwood area.
Right.
There's some oaks and some maples in that area.
I'm willing to bet that the easiest way for us to get vegetation in there is just make it a no-mow area. Like there's going to be there's going to be way more trees in there very soon. Now that the sun is going to be beating on that soil.
I agree. If you do nothing to it right now, it will grow up, but it'll take a little while, and we don't want to. I mean, we want to get something in there, some kind of ground covering to hold back that soil, because, like I said, it is exposed.
Maybe that seed mix has to be like a native seed mix. Like we don't want to use Kentucky bluegrass over the whole thing, right?
That's up to Dan what he's thinking for the site. I don't know if he wants to mow it or.
Is it up to Dan or is it up to the planning board?
That'd be Eric's. I'm not sure whose decision it is to put what where.
That's a process question.
Yeah, I mean, the code, because there's a violation, probably the planning board has a bit more leeway here. But realistically, it would say you guys should probably work together on it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
So
the planning board could say if they didn't accept it and there's a violation, then I guess it would go to court. But it's probably easiest to just work together.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
mean,
certainly would like to avoid the runoff. So whatever you plant there has got to do that as quickly as possible. That would be my input. I don't know whether it's pine trees or ground cover or whatever.
seeds.
Seeds.
Yeah, we want to get seeds on there, but it just, I mean, what does the applicant want to do with the parcel, Dan? What do you want to do with all that area?
So ultimately, what we saw was essentially a backyard. So, overlooking the back porch, looking down towards that field was essentially just going to be a backyard for, the boys to play, to put a play set in, or, trampoline or whatever other, stuff that they would want out there. And then in the back field, which is, not really part of it, would be more of a garden and like a fruit and nut grove we're going to put out on that'd be the northeast part of the property, but that's off the erosion. So up on the slope, it would be a mowable backyard. And then, as part of that site plan amendment that we made, it would include a tree grove of walnut tree.
You want to plant walnut trees there?
Yeah, I think that's what the plan was. It was either walnut or oak.
Oak.
Oak, okay, so it'd be oak trees then. Yeah, so oak trees are fine by me too. I mean, we've been working hard, like I said in the letter, to save the oak trees that we do have out there, because there's not a ton of them. There's a lot more maple and walnut trees out there than there are oak. But what we do have, we're trying to keep. So I'm totally content with planting more oaks.
Ryan, were you saying you really didn't see a need for a tree planting?
Well, I sometimes if the goal is to have a forested area, like right now, since all that vegetation is removed, because the sun is now hitting the soil, you're going to get you're going to get a bunch of pines that are going to start growing. You're going to get a lot of oak regeneration if there's oaks that are falling into the area. But I didn't know, like, if it's going to be a backyard, then it's going to have to be mowed, right?
Right.
If you want a forested area, or if you wanted it to go back to native vegetation, then we don't want to mow it. And then that would be a different seed mix. So that's what I was asking. I wasn't being confrontational. I certainly don't want to take anyone to court over this. The town did not issue any economic hardship. I think of course, we're going to work with the applicant. It's hard to know exactly what's going on out there ecologically if we can't go and visit it. But so that's what I was asking. Like, if we plant trees, that may actually slow down how fast vegetation comes up. So if we put grass seed on the ground, that's fine.
What if we plant the trees later, just get the grass on the ground for the time being, and then if you guys, we're still looking for trees to be replanted on the hillside, plant the trees at the later end of the process before we get the final approval, just to establish the trees on that hillside. But for the time being, so you don't have the runoff issues, get it regraded, like Anthony said, and get some seed down and get it growing.
Hey, Chuck, this is Bob. Could we just see a plan from and the builder, a future plan that would show the progression from early on, what we need to do right away, and then what we want to do longer, so we don't go back and forth, and then we can look at their plan and say, yeah, we agree with this plan, looks good, or add a tree here or whatever. But we need to have something that
Well, I think it's going to require an amendment to our approval, and I think the amended plan would show whatever vegetation they intend to put there, along with a sequence of construction in terms of ground cover first, certainly any erosion control that's required, that be put in initially, and then the sequencing of how the site would be restored, including and ultimately, I guess, the trees that are proposed. I guess my concern is the view from the lake and across the lake. I must admit I didn't go drive across the other side and look at it, but it certainly is visible. And I know one of our charges is to ensure that the view from the lake, and including ridge lines, are established and kept in place. So I would think at some point, yes, there would have to be some sort of plan to install trees. But I agree with you, Bob, that that should be shown on a plan. We come back to the board along with all the other work that's required to restore the property. And we would consider it and if appropriate, revise it.
Yep, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
Chuck, real quick, what more do you want to see on the plan that we already have? I mean, we're showing the trees and any kind of area we get. I mean,
Again, I'm looking at a laptop version of this.
I mean,
thing.
we show the trees and anything that we disturbed is, I mean, I could put a note saying any disturbance, so I mean, we have all the standard notes that typically when we disturb something, we put back a grass or something when it's residential. And that's what typically we're gonna do here, along with the oak trees.
I don't personally think trees grow in a format like that.
Well, no, we're gonna plant them in a format like that.
So maybe
proper spacing.
Maybe what Bob is asking for is a certified landscape architecture site plan. Something that identifies where we're gonna have, you know, the playground area, you know, whatever those areas are, let's see a site plan about it. Is that what you were saying, Bob?
Yeah, I can go back and forth all day, but
Certified landscape architect, CLA. They know. I mean, I don't think we should be coming here saying what we don't like. I don't think we're in the business of making plans ourselves. It's up to the applicants to bring us plans.
You're looking at the plan, Ryan.
I'm hearing that Bob's not happy with it, and I think that we have a lot of questions. And
Okay, so you want just so I know, you want a new, different plan. I mean, you're not happy with what is in front of you.
I think that's correct. I think that's what I'm hearing from Bob and myself.
So you want to see, at least from specifically what I can tell, like spacing, number, all that good stuff that you guys normally would get for a landscape architect plan?
we need a landscaping plan.
The normal thing that we usually see, yes.
And that construction sequence we talked about as to what's to be done initially and then how does it progress to the ultimate restoration of the property.
There should be a sequence of site prep on the plan.
There is.
Sequence that we do. So we need to make sure that that's followed to the T.
Right.
Which will be done.
Right.
Okay, is there anything unique?
Need to revise.
Well, I think what's important is that there's a difference between a certified landscape architect that would answer these questions, and nothing against Venezia and Associates, but this is not a certified landscape architecture plan that's identifying the landscaping. That's what we're talking about. And so that I think I could be wrong, but we don't require that in the town of Canday. We don't require certified landscape architect drawings, but if I'm
I will say,
I think that's what we're asking for.
theoretically, if they had built the house and barn and the site plan was closed out, they could go on that site and cut down all those trees if they wanted. They might have to get a soil erosion permit, but it wouldn't have to go to the planning board for site plan approval, regardless of whether or not it being on the lake. You're seeing it because there's a violation of site plan approval, not necessarily because all those trees got cut down and the area mowed down. Again, they could do that, assuming this house and barn were there already. They could have done that, just so you guys are aware.
Yeah, over here.
I guess I'm a little confused at what you just said there, Eric. If the house, you're saying if the house and barn were not a new construction and had already been there and some guy just came and bought the lot, they could go in and take down all the trees between the house and the barn and start mowing their lawn.
With a soil erosion permit, yes.
Yeah, okay, that's what you're saying.
It's over an acre, right?
Yeah. There might be state requirements, but the planning board wouldn't have to see it.
And what would the engineering firm, what would their involvement be?
If I may, as part of the original approval, they were over a 1 acre threshold, which required them to do a SWIP and submission of an NOI to the state, which just gives them the ability to go out and install anything over 1 acre residential. Only time would we require them to comply with more scrutinized requirements like stormwater facilities, et cetera, is when residential gets over 5 acres. According to this plan and according to Chris's notes, I think they're at like 4.2 4.1 acres of disturbance. So they would be under that threshold of requiring anything additional above what was originally approved. Now, they do have a sequence of construction on here, but it's based on the original plans. And I think that what we're asking for, at least what I'm hearing being asked for, is that sequence should be at least updated to identify that, you know, the disturbed areas as shown on the plans are going to be stabilized in how and what manner. What is the proposed mitigation measures for stabilizing that area? Are we using jute mesh? Are we using steep slope seed mixture? Are we going to plant trees? And then if we are going to plant trees, I think what the town is asking for is get a recommendation from a landscape architect as to the type of trees that would be best served in that area. Maybe I misunderstood, but that's what I'm understanding.
I think that's a good summation.
So the stuff that's listed under 17 A, B, and C on the site plan, page 4, does that not explain the areas of disturbance and what we're, you know, how to prepare the soil and what to plant, both temporarily and the permanent lawn seeding mix, which is under C? Does that not cover it, or are we looking for something in more detail than what's listed there?
So I guess my understanding is that you're out of sequence, and because you're out of sequence, that sequence is no longer compliant with the plans as shown. So we're looking for a little bit more specifics as it relates to the areas that were disturbed outside of the approval of the project.
So if we adjust the sequence to start with reestablishing open areas and then go on from there using, you know, the proper seed mix set forth by the town standards, then we start, you know, obviously we get the silt fence all in there and we reestablish what was disturbed, and then we go from there first, you know, starting, you know, we have, you know, like, if you will, 1A and B, and then we go into the normal site preparation earthwork sequence.
Right.
Anthony, wouldn't the result of this encroachment require different stabilization, such as jute matting or other types of devices? And
I mean, jute mesh is only needed to stabilize steep areas. The area that was disturbed is not a steep area. So we are using jute mesh on this site for anything that's 2 or 3 to 1, but we're not in that steep area. You can see on the site plan where the steep areas are. You can see that we're on a 3 to 1. And those areas will get, you know, once we're done with the house grading and that kind of worked out, and, you know, the plan was to get that jute meshing in once we open those to stabilize it. But in the area that was disturbed, anything to the east of where the septic's going to go is not in that area where we would put down a jute mesh. We would get it seeded and put, you know, we could put a straw, or it could be hydro seeded with a tackifier on there to get it in there and get it solid and just get it stabilized. I mean, the goal that what we need to do is get this resolved. So as soon as we get into a season where we're getting more and more rain, that we have something on this site to hold back that soil. Right now, the owner's not able to go in there and do anything. It's just, we could get a downpour, 2 or 3 of them in the next week, the way the weather's going to come, and it could be a detriment. So we need to get something in there where he can get in there, get it stabilized, and then he can proceed with building his house for his family.
Yeah, if I may, I don't disagree with what you're saying, Anthony, in terms of the timetable for getting this thing stabilized. It almost, to me, seems like if we could have a statement supplied back to the town development office identifying how that area is going to be stabilized, what you're proposing to use, and maybe, like you said, it's already identified in the plans, but specifically, this area is going to be stabilized right now, following this sequence, following these erosion notes, and then once that's stabilized, we'll continue with the project as proposed and as approved.
I could add a special note to that on the plan. For that specific area with a note, you know, something of that nature.
Yeah, I think it's imperative that we get, because it's outside of the approval, that area be addressed first and foremost before anything else gets done.
This is similar to that last agenda item last week. on Route County Road 332, right? So there's issues with the state and also being an essential service, and if they can get in there with one person or something right now with the
Yeah, the
quarantine,
old KFC site. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
kind of
Canada
similar.
Coffee.
We just dealt with this.
Yeah, and
Well, I think Dan is more than able to get in there on his own and get this done. I mean,
Well,
I'm kind of, part of my thoughts is going back to what Eric had kind of said. Had this been a house and a barn already and they came in and do it, I don't think we should put more restrictions on a homeowner just because there was either a misinterpretation of the area of disturbance or it was incorrectly drawn. I guess each side can debate what that is. But I don't think we should have them go through any extra hoops than anybody else would have had they just bought this lot and wanted to regrade or put in a backyard.
My sole interest is the runoff and the visibility of the property, because we do have shoreline guidelines and it is visible from the other side of the lake. So those two things from the planning board perspective, we definitely don't want any runoff, and we would like to see a better vista for the property. How you do it is certainly not in my area.
Yeah, we certainly don't want an ugly lot neither.
No.
So, whatever we can do to dress the place up and make it look good, even from the other side of the lake is certainly an interest to us. We just don't want to live out in, just some crappy lot. We want to have it look nice. We're building a nice house. We want to have a nice lot to go along with it. So.
So I guess, what is specifically our action here? I don't see, is this an amended site plan that we're supposed to be approving? Is this?
Yeah, just what I was going to say, Gary. I think because the limits of disturbance are different than what was on the approved plan, I think we have to amend the plan, the site plan, through some sort of formal action at a subsequent meeting. But I think the other thing is the urgency of getting the site stabilized. And I don't know if we can give him dispensation to allow the homeowner to go out and do what's required prior to any revision of the plan itself formally by the board. Is that something that could be done, Eric?
I'll have to check with Chris just so we can communicate appropriately. I would imagine that it's perfectly okay to seed it and put up silt fence. I'm guessing that Chris probably would want that. So I'll check with him, and then, even if the planning board did approve an amendment, it probably wouldn't get signed for a little while anyways. And in the interim of that, you would still want it to get done. So I don't know whether you would have to condition it on no signatures be granted until it's seated, but I don't know. I'll work with Chris on making sure that we can get it fixed up and why it hasn't already.
Either that or we get an escrow.
Right, well, we wouldn't have a surety yet. Normally we don't until we issue permits.
Okay, but I guess to keep us moving is the plan has to be revised to show the actual conditions out there as to what was disturbed. That's got to be submitted and reviewed by the board if we're so inclined. Do we have a consensus on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, but pending that approval or revision, Eric, you're going to check with Chris to see, and I would hope Chris would insist that the stabilization occur ASAP.
Yeah.
Is that something the applicant and Anthony's okay with?
Yeah, I guess. So you're going to allow him to reestablish just that area? He can grade it and get it seated?
Whatever's been disturbed. Whatever's been, yeah.
Whatever is out. So
whatever's not stable.
Right. Whatever's outside of what was what the plan had originally, that big area that's there.
And I just want to work with Chris Jensen to make sure that we do it all right and okay with him, since he's the one who issued the stop work order on it.
So I don't think we need any action by the board to do that at this point. So Eric will check with Chris.
So will there be a planning board meeting to approve the additional comments on the site plan for what was disturbed? We will need a planning board meeting for that.
Yes, you would need a formal action, a board meeting and a formal action by the board at a public meeting, and that would occur, could we do it on the 29th? Or excuse me, 29th?
Is there any way to do it the first meeting in May?
Oh, okay. I'm trying to
Oh,
move it along.
we were talking about 29 April. Anthony.
Oh, okay, the 29th April?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that works. If you have time, if it needs to be a public hearing, do we have enough time?
No,
to...
doesn't require a public hearing.
Okay, so Eric, when would I have to have you the updated plan? Monday?
Yeah, as soon as you possibly can.
Okay, I can have it updated Monday or Tuesday, so I'll get it to you guys then.
And then, guys and gals, as part of our deliberations, then we would consider whether trees are to be planted or we allow this thing to become everwild and sort of have seedlings and volunteer trees grow in the area, and so we can decide how we want that area to be ultimately established at that time.
I thought they're going to just give us a plan based on what we want to have happen.
Well, I'm just saying, if they're going to give us a plan, but we can consider the value of that plan at that time.
Right. Does that plan have to be? Are we still in the getting a certified landscape architect to draw something up, or is it something that, like, I'm just trying to make sure that we're getting everything in there and we're not 2 or 3 meetings. We can try to get this done as soon as possible so Mr. Lester can get in and start building his home.
Well, let's face it, a certified landscape architect could probably defend a landscape plan a lot better, just because that's what they do all the time. So,
yeah,
I mean, we've had them before us, and I'm always amazed at their knowledge and very odd. So it wouldn't be a bad idea. I wouldn't require it, but I will tell you it'll be easier, I bet, for you.
And I guess, Anthony, from my perspective, I'm just, where my confusion just on this thing is, I just still don't get the concept of what that whole backyard is going to be used for. Where does the mowing of the grass stop and the forest start? What's
I guess the best thing I can do, the best thing I'll do on the plan is I will kind of give it a different hatching of the area that was over disturbed to kind of show you, what is disturbed, what is going to stay undisturbed, and what was, part of the original plan. Kind of show you those areas, and then the plan going ahead would be how we're going to take care of the area that was disturbed, that wasn't part of the plan. Because everything else is on track for what was designed.
Yeah, I guess that's just where Ryan and it's kind of said a landscape architect does really well in their plans depicting the use of the space.
Yes, that's just what I said, right?
Yep, that's what.
Right, but also a landscape architect is someone that's designing, like, they don't design forests. They design patios and things of that nature. I mean, do you look at the...
Not true. Landscape architects restore, they do all the above.
So you want us to redesign a forest?
No, I'm not. No, I don't want you to redesign a forest. I think I'm picking.
Make it look natural as what it was.
I guess it's not really clear looking at the plan that we're seeing, the whole picture. I'm just trying to help. The landowner out. Like I see.
I don't get it.
Trees that went in 4, 8, 12, 16 trees, and then there's the slope, and then there's an area. We didn't want that to happen. We did too much. We don't care about the views. We don't care about, and what will I don't know. I'm looking at this. I don't know are we going to mow? There's going to be no mow areas. If we're trying to reduce erosion and help that, then I think if there's a lot of questions here. I think it would help to have a landscape plan.
I think this is Dan Lester again. I think probably making it more complicated, or I'm not being super concise, but that backyard going from the house to the east is the only intent to use it is just to mow as a yard. There, place that further up to the north, south at some point. I just don't know. There isn't a specific plan to do anything like that at this point. But our plan was to mow that backyard, and the purpose of showing those 16 oak trees being added to that sloped area was basically to try to make amends for the trees that we removed. It's kind of up to you if you guys as a board want them there or need them there. I felt, and Anthony felt, that it would be helpful to add them back into the plan because we did remove the trees, and this start to put some trees back up on that slope. But it's not something, they're not there right now. It's just dirt. So, if those trees are not there, it's going to be mowed grass. That was my intent all along. And then that backyard essentially continues right into that natural backfield area that's already, just wild grass and, saplings and whatever else. But that's mowed down to a high height at this point right now. So, if that's not clear, that's all that we're looking to do at this point. I'm sure there'll be landscaping done down the road at some point, but right now we're just looking to get the house in, and then we would work with a landscaper about mulch beds and all that stuff. But there's no patio out back. It's a walkout. And then there's a deck on the back, and that's what we're primarily going to use for outside, not entertainment space, but essentially entertainment space, or there wouldn't be a rear patio outside of the back side of the basement. It's just mowed grass. That's all I was looking to do back there at this point.
Hey, this is Bob. If I could say, one thing I took negative on is the placement of those trees. It's just that it's not the way of naturally. So if those could be moved around your property, at least it make it look more natural. That just looks like I made a pine.
It's weird.
Grove. That's my point on that.
Soldiers.
Okay. Anthony, any take on that?
I mean, we could do whatever you want, Dan, with how you want to. I mean, if you want to distribute some trees across there and kind of make a nice wooded, mowable area with larger trees, I mean, obviously these things are going to stay small for the next 20 years. But I mean, if we want to scatter them across to make a more, random pattern, if you will, we can.
Yeah, that's fine by me. If that's something that the board is having an issue with, that I don't have any issue with that. The placement of the trees was basically just to put a grove of the trees up on the hillside, and
to get trees back that were taken.
That's it. But I don't care less where they go. Once they're out there, it makes no difference to me where we plant them. If you guys would prefer that they're more randomized, and then we go more randomized.
I like point. Natural.
And also on your plan, show what areas to be turf and what areas to be left eventually to be overgrown, so to speak.
Yeah, so like the backfield area is that kind of wild grass. And on to the north end of that to put in a large garden, and then some fruit and walnut trees, or not fruit and nut trees rather, not fruit and walnut. But that would be, probably down the road at some point. The garden would probably come first, and then the fruit and nut trees would come after. But that lower area is just a wild grass, and then the upper area basically right down to where that field would be more of a, I think in the plan it shows like a rye and fescue mix for the area. That's fine.
Okay. Well, it's a shame we got to go through this because everything you just said, if that had been in the initial plan, it could all been taken care of with the initial vote. So now we gotta go through this amendment. So get that plan into us, guys, and we'll consider it on the 29th if you're ready.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. All right, anything else?
I'm good.
Okay, thanks, Mark, Anthony.
Yep.
Have a good evening.
Bye.
All right, doubling back. Did we do, what happened to the minutes?
Oh,
The minutes are not on here.
oh, I know what happened. At the 7th meeting, you guys approved the meeting minutes for March. And then since there was only a short period of time in between today and last week's, I moved them to the 29th. So
Okay.
you can approve both of them on the 29th.
Okay, we'll consider it then. Referrals, town board. I think it was sent out to you, the new proposed lighting and pool standards in the RLD draft amendments. They will be considered on the 29th, right, Eric?
Correct.
Okay, so please look through those again. I think the lighting we chewed on pretty good couple
Yeah.
meetings back, but I think we haven't discussed the pool draft, so do that if you would. No letters.
Just one comment on the lighting. I looked at it and I did a little bit of research. And this brings up something that Ryan brought up last time, and it has to do with lighting of if somebody has a flagpole in a residential area. I know flagpoles, I was looking at them just to see what their height are, and a lot of the common flagpoles are 25 feet. And it says we can't have any lighting in residential areas above 20. So I don't know why in other areas, the commercial areas and stuff, it was 30. And I don't know why we needed to restrict it down to 20 in the residential areas. So that's just a comment that I have.
Thanks, Gary. I was going to bring that up again. I guess my only comment with the lighting is that we exempt flagpoles.
Well, that's another way of doing it.
Okay. Was this, Eric, was this discussed in ordinance? I'm trying to remember. In the ordinance committee, I know we talked
about lighting or flagpole?
No, the flagpole issue.
I do vaguely remember it, but I can't specifically recall
how we settled upon it. Okay. All right. Well, we'll discuss it in more detail on the 29th. Everybody get the plans for the Foster Road home. We talked about it last meeting, and folks wanted to see it and see how it's changed. So I think the revised plan's a better plan. Available training sessions. John sent an email from the New York General Services regarding spring webinars, and Eric just sent out the New York Planning Federation's webinars. It did not include an actual schedule, but I think there's a link you go to and you can see what they have available. Okay, I think that gets to the end of my agenda. Anybody else have anything else for the good of the board? We will
question
meet.
for Eric. Eric, I was reviewing the comp plan there. Did I notice that the minimum square footage house is going to be lower than it normally is?
Are you're talking about the draft comprehensive plan?
Yeah.
And then you kind of cut out there, the minimum square footage of a house will what?
The minimum was, I believe, 1,600 square feet.
1,100.
I think the new one was going to go lower. The new plan?
I don't recall, but I believe that's probably what it says. I don't know that it would give a specific amount, but it's definitely something that's been talked about too, even doing it now.
Okay, because it got my thought on that one developer that was trying to build near the hospital there. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah,
He wanted smaller houses, and I think that would be advantageous time.
Yeah.
Wait.
I think, especially if we're entering a recession, finding ways to allow affordable housing in the town that rule might not be appropriate anymore. And if you're gonna put a development like Metros, I think those ones are still over that limit a little bit, but
Yeah.
Giving people the opportunity to have some smaller homes or units.
I just want to verify. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, next meeting is Wednesday. I stress Wednesday, the 29th. Same place, same station. Yeah, but even though the preliminary election got moved back to the 28th, we're going to keep the meeting on the 29th to do the everything that was announced and advertised and scheduled on the town calendar. So let's leave it there as long as everybody can join us. John, you have any questions regarding the minutes? You're okay? Okay, I assume the wave sign means all right. Amanda, thanks for hanging in.
Hey, Chuck,
Yeah.
meeting dates, because of the primary thing, that's why we moved it to Wednesday next week. But the new primary day now, I guess, is the 23rd of June, which is also a Tuesday. Is there
No, there's a
probably
special,
an opportunity that we're gonna have to move that meeting as well?
Oh, right.
I think we may have already changed that.
It's on the 23rd right now.
That's what I thought, yeah.
Yeah,
Till Tuesday, the 23rd.
yeah. That's the schedule.
It's weird.
But you
But
do
that
say.
is, but that's
subject to
now
change.
primary day.
Yes, it is a special election day.
Yeah.
All right,
So
yeah, we'll change that.
You probably might want to consider changing that now.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you want to do absentee ballot, you ought to think about that one too. That's what I did, just mailed them in.
Okay, anybody else that's not part of the board out there, any questions? If not, I will call on Ryan.
Wonderful, thank you. My pleasure to make a recommendation that this board, what's it called? I forgot. Adjourn at 8:23 p.m.
Oh, no.
And I will second that since I helped him.
I'll third it. Jeez.
Okay, I don't think I can get any objections. Okay, we're all in favor. All right, we stand adjourned till the 29th. Thanks, folks.
Bye.
Be
All
safe,
right.
everybody.
Have a good evening.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you, guys.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, Lance.